These are 15 British foods that kept families warm during winter. And number 3 was eaten 5 times every single second in Britain. Number 7 could only be opened with rusty kitchen tongs and a prayer. And number 1, the purple drink that meant someone was looking after you when you were poorly. Those of us who remember when corner shops had character, when 25 pence could get you something hot, when choosing what warmed you up was about comfort, not cuisine, this one's for you. Number 15, Horlicks, the bedtime ritual. That mug of steaming malty drink your parent brought upstairs when you were in your pajamas. The slightly grainy, creamy taste that wasn't chocolatey but comforting, like the inside of a Whopper candy. That malty sweet smell that meant someone was looking after you before sleep. Horlicks launched in Britain in 1908 from the Slough factory. The powder contained malted barley and wheat with nearly 40 grams of sugar per 100 grams. Parents made it before bed, bringing mugs upstairs to children reading under warm blankets on winter evenings. You sipped slowly while winding down, the warmth spreading through you. Here's the shocking bit. Horlicks invented a fictitious medical condition called night starvation in 1931. Their adverts claimed bedtime mugs helped with everything: employment prospects, children's behaviour, church bazaars. The phrase, "a complete Horlicks," became 1980s slang for complete balls up, so mainstream that Foreign Secretary Jack Straw used it in 2003. UK sales declined as the product seemed old-fashioned. What granny drank. Coffee culture took over. By the 2000s, India represented 85% of Horlicks' revenue. What we lost was the bedtime ritual of a parent making their child a mug. That malty smell associated with childhood safety and someone looking after you before sleep. But while Horlicks meant bedtime, cheese on toast meant survival with dignity. Number 14, cheese on toast, the post-rationing staple. Food rationing officially ended July 4th, 1954, but cheese was still rationed when Elizabeth took the throne, just 2 ounces per person per week during World War II. The legacy persisted into the 1970s with successive food shortages. Cheese prices jumped from 40.8 pence per kilogram in 1970 to £2, 9 pence in 1980 during August 1975's 24.5% inflation rate. The ritual was democratic. Bread toasted on both sides. Grated or sliced cheese applied generously. Optional Worcestershire sauce drizzled over. Then grilled until golden brown and bubbling, creating stringy cheese that stretched when you bit into it. The smell of toasted cheese pervaded school corridors throughout the 1970s and 1980s. In school dinners, cheese pie or cheese flan cost just 16 to 18 pence in the early 1980s, the cheapest option. Cathedral City cheddar, established 1966, became the UK's favourite cheese by the late 1980s. What we lost was the acceptance that the simplest food could be genuinely satisfying. That bubbling cheese on toast, served piping hot, was comfort enough. Speaking of simple warmth, number 13 turned breakfast into advertising legend. Number 13, Ready Brek. Central heating for kids. That orange glow around children in the adverts, showing Ready Brek as literal central heating you could eat. The tagline promised warmth from within on Britain's coldest mornings. Ready Brek launched in 1957, creating instant porridge that revolutionised British breakfasts. The fine powder transformed in just 90 seconds into super smooth, creamy porridge with no lumps ever. Made primarily from whole grain rolled oats and oat flour, it created silky consistency that melted in your mouth, revolutionary compared to traditional porridge requiring 6 or more minutes cooking. The bowl steamed visibly on proper cold winter mornings. Kids added sugar, golden syrup, or honey. The Orange Glow campaign launched in the 1970s and became so iconic that generations genuinely believed Ready Brek would make them glow. The imagery suggested warmth, protection, energy. Ready Brek achieved the lowest added salt and sugar of all breakfast cereals, tested by which magazine? The 1984 relaunch featured a £2 million TV campaign. A 1983 BMX promotion increased sales by 10%. Multiple flavours proliferated in the 1980s, golden syrup, butterscotch, toffee, but by the 1990s these were discontinued. The glow imagery made a comeback in 2018 after being off television for 5 years. Ready Brek represented the promise that breakfast could warm you from inside, that food could be armour against the cold, but Ready Brek was just breakfast. Number 12 made every pudding complete for over a century. Number 12, Bird's Custard. Lashings of hot yellow comfort. That bright yellow custard poured steaming hot over puddings, the vanilla aroma filling the kitchen, the glossy sauce coating everything it touched. Bird's custard powder held 99% brand recognition in 2000 and commanded 45% market share of all custard consumed in the UK. The brand was so dominant that in Britain the word custard commonly referred to birds rather than traditional egg-based custard. The iconic red, yellow and blue tin sat in virtually every British cupboard. The ritual was central to its comfort. Mix the yellow powder with cold milk to form a smooth paste. Heat milk in a saucepan until simmering. Stir constantly while the mixture transformed from thin liquid to thick, glossy sauce. The bright yellow colour, the vanilla aroma, the steaming custard created the quintessential British dessert experience. The custard was poured piping hot over spotted dick, treacle sponge, apple crumbles, Christmas pudding. In school dinners, extra custard please was the common request from children presented with rectangular slabs of sponge pudding. The decline of homemade puddings began in the 1970s when more women entered the workforce. While 49% of those born before 1970 reported their parents made puddings several times weekly, only 25% of those born in the 1970s experienced the same. What we lost was the ritual of custard made from powder, stirred on the stove, served steaming hot, authentic British comfort that convenience products couldn't fully replicate. But while Bird's custard warmed you after dinner, Bovril warmed you on frozen terraces. Number 11. Bovril, the terrace warmer. That queue at halftime on freezing terraces. Those polystyrene cups of scalding brown liquid, holding them to warm frozen fingers, the heat eventually reaching your feet through the cup. Bovril dominated British football terraces from its first service at Ibrox in 1892 with the advert "Bovril served hot, guard yourself against chill or cold." Created in the 1870s by Scottish butcher John Lawson Johnston, the thick dark brown meat extract paste sold over 3 million jars annually in Britain throughout the 1970s and 1990s. The drink tasted like weak gravy as hot as the sun, intensely salty and beefy. 1 teaspoon of concentrate stirred into hot water, standing on concrete terraces in the wind, hands numb, stamping your feet, then that first sip, burning your tongue but warming everything else. Then came 2004, the vegetarian debacle. Owner Unilever removed beef during the BSE crisis, causing sales to suffer as fans revolted. Beef was reintroduced in 2006, but the damage was done. By 2014, 85.7% of football fans reported not buying Bovril anymore, replaced by coffee and alcohol as grounds modernised. What we lost was the ritual of warming frozen hands on a Bovril cup on windswept terraces, that distinctive beef salty taste marking winter football, and the authentic working-class football experience before the game became sanitized. Speaking of authenticity, or lack of it, number 10 brought exotic flavors to a Britain where fish and chips was still the favorite meal. Number 10, Vesta curry, Britain's embarrassing first curry. Those colourful Vesta boxes containing sachets of powdered curry, dried rice and sultanas, no refrigeration needed. Nothing to add except boiling water. The preparation was simple. Tip everything into a pot of boiling water and stir for under 20 minutes. The kitchen would stink. One description said it made your kitchen smell like a Calcutta cesspit. The curries relied heavily on MSG for flavour and bore little resemblance to authentic Indian food. But having Vesta curry on Friday night was something many looked forward to all week. Eating it while watching Rent-A-Ghost and Crackerjack. The boxes were sold everywhere, corner shops, supermarkets, even garage forecourts. You could buy curry alongside petrol. By the 1990s, as authentic Indian and Chinese takeaways proliferated and celebrity chefs emphasized proper cooking, Vesta became embarrassing. A punchline. What we lost was the innocence of thinking powdered curry from a box was sophisticated. The excitement of foreign food when Britain's palate was still recovering from rationing. And yes, the specific memory of that smell and taste, awful but ours. But while Vesta represented fake exoticism, number 9 was as British as it gets. Number 9. Hot pies from local bakers to Greg's Empire. That golden brown pastry glistening with butter, steam escaping when you bit into it. Rich, meaty gravy aroma wafting down high streets from bakery doors. Greg's went public in 1984 with £37 million in sales and 261 shops, then exploded to over 500 stores by 1994. By 1994-2003, annual profits reached £40.5 million from £1.7 million in 1984. Share prices rose from 135 pence to £31, 40 pence over 2 decades. This represented the transformation from local Newcastle bakery to the UK's largest bakery chain in 30 years. The numbers were staggering. Pukka Pies produces 180,000 pies daily, 60 million annually. Hollands makes over 1 million pies weekly. Regional identity was fierce. Meat and potato pies dominated Lancashire and Yorkshire. Wigan residents were known as pie eaters, with the World Pie Eating Championships held there. Wigan's unique pie balm placed a meat and potato pie inside a buttered bread roll, carbs on carbs, and proud of it. Pies were served piping hot, too hot to hold initially, in paper bags or foil containers. The ritual involved careful first bites to avoid burning your mouth on molten gravy. What was lost through standardization was profound. Central bakeries meant uniform recipes, eliminating local variations. Independent family bakeries declined. They couldn't compete with chains' economies of scale. The shift from made by hand by local baker to industrial production sacrificed freshness, craft, and local character. Yet, pies became more available and affordable. The paradox of democratized access versus homogenized authenticity. If you think pies lost authenticity through industrialization, number 8 took it further. Number 8, smash. For mash, get smash. Instant mashed potato that laughing Martians used to mock earthlings for peeling actual potatoes. Smash achieved cultural immortality through the 1974 Martians advertising campaign, voted TV Advert of the Century by Campaign magazine in 1999. Robot Martians made from car parts laughed hysterically at earthlings peeling potatoes with metal knives, boiling them for 20 of their minutes, then smashing them all to bits when they could just add boiling water to smash. The campaign was so successful, the Martians received fan mail requiring special literature to reply. The puppets are now displayed at the National Media Museum in Bradford. The catchphrase, "For mash get smash," entered advertising vocabulary permanently. Sales soared from reasonably successful to market leader, with Smash selling 140 million servings annually by the 2000s. The product was 30% cheaper and used less fuel than traditional potatoes, genuine advantages in the energy crisis years of the 1970s. The reconstituted potato flakes transformed from dust into something resembling mashed potato in minutes. It was never quite right, slightly too smooth, lacking texture, that chemical aftertaste, but it was hot, filling, and convenient. Working mothers embraced it. Students lived on it. What we lost was the unapologetic embrace of convenience over authenticity. The idea that saving time was worth sacrificing quality, that working mothers deserved convenience without shame, but at least Smash was just potatoes. Number 7? This one's got a story that'll put you off your dinner. Number 7. Fray Bentos, the tin with secrets. Those distinctive metal tins in every corner shop throughout the 1970s and 1980s, the preparation ritual that became theatre. Cutting the top off the tin with a rotary can opener, notoriously difficult. Placing the entire tin in the belling oven for 35 minutes. Using rusty old kitchen tongs to extract the steaming wonder from its fiery cavern. Then cutting into the puffed pastry to reveal the meat and gravy wonderland within. The pies contained 25% beef floating in thick peppery gravy. By 2011, sales had plateaued at £30 million annually. Then COVID-19 lockdowns in 2020 drove sales up 29% as Britons sought nostalgic comfort. Here's where it gets shocking. The 1964 typhoid scandal nearly destroyed Fray Bentos corned beef, when 3 people died in Aberdeen from contamination traced to the Uruguayan factory's water supply. The details were grim enough to make headlines across Britain. The pie business survived that, but the 2018 recipe controversy nearly finished them when Baxter's admitted cutting meat content. They were forced to issue a humble pie for us apology and add 66% more meat back to return to the classic recipe. What we lost was the acceptance that food didn't need to be posh to matter. That tinned pies fed families when money was tight. The ritual of opening those tins, the theatre of extraction, the reliability of affordable hot food when you needed it. But while Fray Bentos was convenience at home, number 6 was convenience on the street. Number 6. Jacket potatoes. Spudulike and the fast food revolution. Potatoes baked for 1 to 2 hours at 200 degrees until the skin became practically cracker-like, then cross-cut to release steam that burst out like exhaling. The jacket potato explosion began in 1974 when Spudulike opened in Edinburgh. By the early 1980s, mobile caterers selling jacket potatoes had become a staple on British high streets, with Spudulike expanding to approximately 50 franchised outlets. Individual branches were taking £6,000 per week in sales by the late 1980s, extraordinary volume for such affordable food. The internal temperature reached 99 degrees, creating fluffy white interior that steam visibly rose from. Butter melted instantly into the flesh, followed by a choice of 32 different fillings at Spudulike's peak. From classic cheese and beans to cottage cheese with mushrooms, or Scottish haggis and turnip. The cultural impact was remarkable. Harry Enfield's character Wayne and Waynita Slob named their daughter Spudulike after the chain, cementing jacket potatoes as synonymous with working-class British culture. The food represented Britain's answer to the American fast food invasion, a homegrown alternative using traditional ingredients. Everything changed in 2019 when Spudulike entered administration, closing all 37 outlets with nearly 300 job losses. The brand was revived, but never regained its dominance. What changed was the streamlining. The 32 fillings reduced to just 9 core options by the 1990s. The novelty factor dissipated as competition intensified. But for one golden decade, Britain proved we could do fast food our way: hot, filling, democratic, and proudly Spud-based. Speaking of British institutions, number 5 was one of the few school puddings genuinely beloved. Number 5, chocolate concrete with pink custard. The school dinner legend, that dark brown slab that earned its name from being concrete-like and requiring a good whack with a spoon to break into it. Dinner ladies baked it in giant trays from simple ingredients: flour, sugar, cocoa powder, butter. A typical school recipe for 100 portions required 5 pounds, 4 ounces of self-raising flour, and 4 pounds of margarine knocked together in under 10 minutes. The magic happened in the serving. The crunchy cake was dripping with pink or yellow custard, often mint custard, bright green with peppermint extract, or strawberry custard made with blancmange powder. The pink custard became so iconic that when BBC Two's Back in Time for Tea sought 1970s dinner ladies in 2018, they specifically requested chocolate concrete with pink custard. Every dinner lady had her own recipe, passed through oral tradition rather than official documentation. The contrast of crunchy concrete and silky artificial pink custard represented pure comfort. What we lost was the acceptance that school food could be beloved. That dinner, ladies' recipes mattered. That artificial pink custard was perfectly fine. That institutional eating could create happy memories, not just trauma. But while chocolate concrete required dinner ladies, number 4 required nothing but a kettle. Number 4, cup of soup. The latchkey kid's friend. That simple sachet that empowered kids to make themselves something hot when home alone. Cup of soup, launched in 1972 by bachelors, representing the instant single-serve revolution with over 200 million mugs consumed annually in Britain during its 1970s and 1980s peak. The simple ritual, empty sachet into mug, add boiling water, stir, wait, empowered latchkey kids who could make themselves hot food after school when home alone, and desk workers who kept sachets in drawers. Original flavours were chicken noodle, tomato, and cream of mushroom. The creamy, salty instant soup with powdered bits of vegetables wasn't gourmet but satisfying, coating the mouth with slight gloop. What made it revolutionary was the convenience itself becoming comforting. You could make yourself warm food even if alone or a child. The hiss of opening sachets, the stir, the wait, became small ceremonies of self-care, particularly for latchkey children in an era of increasing divorce and women working outside the home. This wasn't just soup. This was independence. The knowledge that even as a 9-year-old arriving home to an empty house, you could make yourself something hot. What we lost was the simplicity of that empowerment. The idea that convenience wasn't lazy, but liberating. That a sachet of powdered soup could represent self-sufficiency and small moments of grown-up competence for children learning to be alone. If cup of soup was for kids after school, number 3 defined student and bedsit life for decades. Number 3, pot noodle. The student survival staple. That plastic pot, that distinctive smell, that revolutionary idea that you could survive with just a kettle. Pot noodle launched in 1977 by Golden Wonder with 3 original flavours: chicken and mushroom, original curry, and beef and tomato. By 2002, the Crumlin, South Wales factory was producing 175 million pots annually. 5 pots eaten every second in Britain. Every single second, 5 people somewhere in Britain were eating pot noodle. The preparation ritual defined a generation. Boil kettle, pour to the fill line, wait, Stir in the soy sauce sachet. Eat directly from the pot. The convenience was revolutionary for those with just a kettle, but there was a notorious problem: the splashback. When stirring, noodles would splash. The smell was indelible on clothing. You could wash a jumper 5 times and still catch a whiff of chicken and mushroom pot noodle. The advertising courted controversy repeatedly. The 1993 computer graphic ad caused epileptic seizures. The 2002 campaign ironically branded itself the slag of all snacks and was withdrawn after complaints. The 2005 Pot Noodle Horn campaign received 620 complaints. The brand deliberately cultivated a laddish cult product image as fuel for hangovers and late-night hunger. This wasn't gourmet food, this was survival food that became identity. Students wore their pot noodle consumption as a badge of honor. The worse it was for you, the more authentic your student experience. What we lost was the simplicity of student life before every meal needed to be Instagrammable, when surviving on a kettle and £10 a week was standard, when pot noodle meant freedom and independence. The acceptance that sometimes hot food that tastes vaguely of chicken is enough. But while pot noodle was about survival, number 2 was about care. Number 2, Heinz tomato soup. The after-school ritual. That bright orange-red soup, that distinctive taste, that bowl waiting on the kitchen table when you came home on cold, rainy afternoons. The numbers are staggering. 8.2 billion tins of Heinz cream of tomato soup, sold over 100 years from 1910 to 2010. In January 2010 alone, 57 million cans were sold in the UK. If all tins sold since 1910 were stacked, they would reach to the moon and back. The Kit Green factory produces over 1,600 cans every single minute. By 2014, Heinz soup commanded 62.9% of the ambient soup market. Cream of tomato was consistently the nation's number 1 soup, achieving more than double the sales value of the number 2 line. Tomato soup alone accounts for 25% of all soup consumption in the UK. The soup was bright orange-red, gloriously thick, smooth and creamy with 89% tomatoes plus cream and milk, served piping hot and steaming. The primary pairing was buttered bread for dunking, white bread with thick butter torn into chunks and dipped. The classic combination paired a grilled cheese sandwich alongside. Children came home on cold, rainy afternoons to bowls waiting on kitchen tables. An after-school ritual, the steam rising, the first careful sip to test the temperature, the butter melting into the bread as you dunked it, Mum or Dad having timed it perfectly so it was ready when you walked through the door. The 1980s saw ring-pull tins introduced. Microwave ovens enabled heating in minutes. The 2022 price increases of 41% during the cost of living crisis caused volumes to fall almost 20% as shoppers switched to own-label alternatives. What we lost was the certainty of that soup, the knowledge that Heinz tomato soup would always taste exactly the same, that coming home to that bowl meant someone had thought about you, timed it for you, cared enough to have it ready. The soup was love made edible, cheap, reliable, warm love that meant everything. But while Heinz soup meant everyday care, number 1 meant something deeper. Number 1, hot Ribena. When medicine meant someone cared, that intensely sweet tart, deep purple drink served in a mug when you were poorly. The smell of hot black currant that meant someone was looking after you. Hot Ribena served as winter medicine comfort, particularly when children fell ill. Developed in 1933 at Long Ashton Research Station, black currant syrup became crucial during World War II when the British government's vitamin welfare scheme from December 1941 provided blackcurrant syrup free to children under 2 and expectant mothers because blackcurrants have 4 times the vitamin C of oranges. With German U-boats blocking orange imports, 90% of the British blackcurrant crop went to Ribena. Sales reached £500 million annually worldwide by 2013, when Suntory Japan purchased it from GlaxoSmithKline for £1.35 billion. 1 part, cordial to 4 parts hot water, created that intensely sweet, tart, deep purple drink. Mothers made hot Ribena for children with colds and flu. The vitamin C association made it therapeutic. The purple colour was cheerful. The smell of hot black currant meant care and childhood. Being tucked up on the sofa with hot Ribena meant you were poorly but properly cared for. Then came a discovery that changed everything. Between 2004 and 2007, New Zealand schoolgirls tested ready-to-drink Ribena and found undetectable vitamin C levels despite advertising claims. GSK was charged under the Fair Trading Act, pleaded guilty in 2007 and was fined. The vitamin C we'd trusted for generations wasn't there. The 2018 sugar tax drove recipe changes, reducing sugar and adding artificial sweeteners. The taste changed. Fans were disappointed. The Ribena they remembered was gone. What was lost runs deeper than a drink. We lost the belief it was good for you, the entire foundation of why mothers made it. We lost the ritual of mother making hot Ribena for a poorly child. The sick room smell of hot blackcurrant, meaning someone was looking after you. We lost trust in the brand. Most of all, we lost the simple equation: feeling poorly equals someone making you hot. Ribena equals being cared for. The drink represented the transformation of concern into action. Your mum couldn't cure your cold, but she could make you hot Ribena. It was the physical manifestation of care. Proof that when you felt awful, someone noticed and did something about it. That's what we lost. Not just a drink, but the certainty that when you were at your most vulnerable, someone would make you something warm. So that's 15 British foods that kept families warm during winter. But I know I've missed your favourite. Because these weren't just foods, they were proof that care didn't require money or sophistication. That warmth could come from a tin, from powder, from whatever you could afford. The latchkey child making cup of soup learned independence. The parent making bedtime Horlicks created security. The mother making hot Ribena showed love through temperature and sweetness. These small acts of making something hot transformed poverty into comfort, convenience into care. Which of these takes you straight back to childhood? Share this with someone who remembers when 25p bought something hot from the chippy, when the smell of chocolate concrete meant school dinner time. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to check out some of our other videos. I'm sure you'll love them, and until next time, take care.